All right, guys, welcome to the show. We are talking some Dynasty Fantasy Football here. I've got 5 names that a lot of people want to keep. These are some big name fantasy football players that if you're in a keeper league, you're probably consider keeping. I'm going to tell you not to do that. I'm going to tell you who these Dynasty duds are and why you need to stay away from them, okay? We're talking some big names here. Now, if you're not into Dynasty, it's still good to watch this episode because we're going to be talking about a lot of important players, key players that you may want to be drafting in year long as well. But I really want to talk here about Dynasty and get this out of the system here because a lot of these guys are going to be drafted pretty high in year long, but also you're going to be tempted to keep them. So let's talk about it here. 5 Dynasty duds do not keep. All right, let's dive into it. Before we do, guys, smash thumbs up. I noticed when I look at the analytics that over 70% of people that watch these videos aren't subscribed. So click that subscribe button, turn on that bell. Got some big things happening here for you, including the Fantasy Sports Summit. This is massive, okay? I've put a link here below. Secure your ticket now. Seats are limited. We got Kyron Williams. We got Pat Fryermuth coming. We got Trey Benson, Tajay Spears, and more. I'll be there. The bald guy, Jimmy. We're all going to be there. We're going to be doing a mock draft, fantasy football chat, and of course, having interviews with athletes. And you get a chance to, in the comments to leave a question, have your question answered by the NFL athletes. I'm going to be opening it up to a Q&A as well with these athletes. This is huge. Fantasy Sports Summit, linked it below. And you can pre-order 16 rounds using code SMASH to save right now, or you can combo them together for the lowest price. I've linked everything below, guys. Secure your ticket right now for the Fantasy Sports Summit. This is going to be huge, all right? Smash thumbs up, subscribe. Let's dive into it. Let's go. And let me know in the comments. Let's make this interactive. Do you agree with these guys being avoided, all right? First one is Rachaad White. For Dynasty, I know you're in a keeper league. I was in a keeper league for many years, and I was able to really scout out guys that are going to break out and be special. Rachaad White had a good year last year. In fact, he was off my radar last year. But if you look at the nuts and bolts, if you actually look at his performance based on the amount of volume he got, it sucks. All right. Now, 272 attempts. Anybody getting 272 attempts is going to thrive if you're in the NFL. You're going to get the volume. You're going to get the yardage. It's like the little engine that could. You're going to do decent, okay? And he didn't even do that. I mean, he did decent, but he just didn't thrive. Anyone else with 272 attempts would crush it, right? Look at what Jahmyr Gibbs with him, with what he had. 213 attempts were gone to Montgomery. Jahmyr Gibbs absolutely crushed it, right? So Rachaad White, 990 yards, 272 attempts, 3.6 yards per carry, 6 touchdowns, 64 receptions, not bad. And he got a little bit more in the receiving game, 64 receptions, 3 receiving touchdowns, 500 plus yards. But I'm not excited about him, And when you look at the situation he's with Keyshawn Vaughn, Edmonds, there's nobody else there to take the volume. That is a plus. The problem is he's sitting at RB9 right now. If you're looking at year long, very expensive for a guy who's average. He's a 3rd round pick. So I would assume that they would expect to use him. They did last year. But he's just not a good player. Like, he's not outstanding. He's not sensational. He's not explosive. He's not going to give you that major RB1 upside. And the problem is you're going to have to draft him as an RB1 if you're looking at year long. So if you're thinking of keeping him, this is not the type of prototypical player that I look to target and keep on my rosters. When I look at a keeper, I'm looking for a massive upside, trending upwards, right? A guy that's really going to thrive and really, really going to explode onto the scene, have those the explosive playability. And Rachaad White is just mediocre average at best. And I'd be really curious to see, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that if the Buccaneers draft another running back and integrate him, because I just don't see Rachaad White as a solution. I think he's just there as a placeholder. Again, I'm not excited. He's a safe bet. The problem is because of his high finish last year, people are going to be tempted to draft him at the end of 1st round, early 2nd. And to me, I'm completely going to be avoiding him. So Rachaad White, if you're looking at Dynasty, just do not keep him, okay? Another guy in Dynasty conversations, which I'm hearing a lot of, is Devin Achain. Devin Achain sitting really high, sitting at number 10 in year long amongst running backs in PPR. And I look at the consensus rankings, and that's when I gauge, like, is this guy too expensive or is he worth the squeeze here? 11 games, 103 attempts, 800 yards. His yards per carry were high, 7.8, 8 touchdowns. He was a round 3 pick. He's explosive. He's young, dynamic, but can he last a full season? Typically, these young guys that are really explosive and electrifying, you don't know. Maybe they're putting themselves out there for risk, for injury. And we saw that last year. They signed on Mostert again. Mostert was a touchdown machine, 18 touchdowns. The guy's 32 years old now. So you're looking at Achain, who's 22. You're looking at Mostert, who's 33. And you got to take a look and say, okay, there's a big age difference. Achain's the future, and I get it. But Mostert's still there. That bothers me. Miami bothers me as a whole, as an offense that, like, they haven't had running backs that really thrived in that offense when it comes to fantasy over the past, I don't know how many years. And they're a throw first team, obviously. So Achain has that upside. But again, you've got the thorn of Mostert there. You got the signs of injury from last year. I'm just not excited about this. If there's another player you can keep, I would probably go do that. I just think Achain's got that, upside. He's got some explosive playability, kind of contrasting with my last conversation with Rachaad White. I just mentioned that. Man, I don't know, man. It just doesn't excite me. With Mostert there being a goal line vulture and hoarding away 209 attempts last year is going to bother me. And you're going to have to spend high capital for him, especially in a keeper league. Again, especially, he did well last year, decent last year, and he's high draft capital on ADP. Maybe your league will want you to pay more to keep him. So not a guy that I'm going to be investing in at all this year based on the scenario situation and Mostert being signed again. Okay. Next guy here sitting as wide receiver 14, and you're going to be tempted to keep him, but I highly encourage is the word I'm trying to find. Encourage you not to. The guy I'm talking about is Nico Collins. Now, this is interesting. When you look at ADP, they brought in Diggs. He's sitting at 18th amongst wide receivers in PPR. Dell at 27, who I think Dell is the wide receiver one on this team. But on paper, it should be Diggs. I don't know, man. He just doesn't have that rapport with CJ Stroud. So I look at Nico Collins, who's sitting at number 14 amongst wide receivers. This is the guy who's in his fourth season, who did absolutely nothing in his prior season. When I say nothing, I mean he did nothing. He had 3 touchdowns in combined 2021 and 2022. 3 touchdowns, guys. That is absolutely ridiculous for a guy that people are considering as a wide receiver one. He is not that. He is not the wide receiver one. He has never been. Last year, by default, because of the great play of CJ Stroud, he was the guy that absolutely shined. I mean, absolutely tore it up because there was no Dell, there was no Diggs, and CJ Stroud was doing really, really, really well. So when I look at this, guys, Nico Collins, you're going to be tempted to draft him with the acquisition of Diggs, with Dell coming back. This is a bad move, guys. Dell is not that, Nico is not that good. And you do not want to invest in a player that's going to definitely 100% decline on his 80 receptions, 109 targets, 1,297 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Nico is not the solution. He's never been a true wide receiver one, and he only was a wide receiver one by default. I implore you, be cautious here. And I'm telling you right now, Dell could be the best value here. Now, I'm actually avoiding all these wide receivers in this committee. I'm staying away. It's a disaster. These guys are really good for reality, not good for fantasy. So Nico Collins, definitely avoid. All right. Number 4, Dynasty Dud. You're definitely going to want to keep him. I see a lot of people saying, I'm keeping this guy. I'm excited. And he's already holding out. The guy I'm talking about is CeeDee Lamb. Now, CeeDee Lamb is actually going to be holding out on OTAs. I already heard this. He wants to get paid. He wants to get incentivized. Coming off that contract year, and he performed. Now, if you look at all the years prior, he had not had a year as good as last year. I personally will be dumping CeeDee Lamb back into the pool. Let somebody else invest a high draft capital in him. He's coming off a pinnacle year. Dak Prescott's got his share of off-field issues, which I'm concerned about. So when you look at a guy like CeeDee Lamb, I don't care for this guy. I don't care for him. He's coming off a pinnacle year. Great player, but why would I keep a guy that, put him back in the pool? So if you can get a first-round pick at a running back, do that. Or if you could trade him, do that. I hate drafting wide receivers coming off such astronomically large years. I would throw him back in the pool or keep him and trade him before week 1 starts and get the best value. The fact that he's holding out already, some drama there, and I think he gets paid. I know, Jerry Jones always ends up taking his time signing these guys, but again, I think they end up signing a wide receiver as well. It should be interesting what they do at wide receiver. They obviously need a running back as well. So they got some question marks. I mean, if they're just going to be focusing on the passing game, they don't get a running back in there, it's going to be trouble for CeeDee Lamb, who's going to be keyed in by all top corners this year. So, Cooks, Tolbert, they're not the solution either. CeeDee Lamb's a standout. But again, coming off that pinnacle year, that's a no for me. All right, subscribe, thumbs up. I'm going to give you guys one more. It's a tight end here. If you have not subscribed, thumbs up, drop a comment below. Let me know. Are you drafting and keeping Rachaad White, Devin Achain, Nico Collins, CeeDee Lamb, or does it make sense that they are due for a decline and that situationally they were in a good situation last year and they're going to decline this year? No way but down. I think so. Rachaad White, 272 attempts, not going to happen. CeeDee Lamb, pinnacle year, not going to happen. Nico Collins with the acquisition of Diggs, not going to happen. So these guys are very top heavy from last year. Decline coming, okay? Last one here, smash thumbs up. Help the channel out, gets the message out, is Trey McBride, who's sitting as like number 3 tight end right now out of Arizona. He was a 2nd-round pick entering his 3rd season, just to give you guys some context here. Now, he only had 29 receptions in 2022. In 2023 last year, 81 receptions. That's a huge jump, okay? In his second season, finished as a 7th tight end. This year, they're going to be drafting a wide receiver. Kyler Murray's coming back. And if it's Marvin Harrison, he's going to be getting the bulk load. So any wide receiver coming into the situation is going to be eating. Now, Trey McBride will be relied on. He'll be used. He's a safe tight end. The problem is that he's very expensive and year long. And when I look at tight ends, I implore you, do not keep any tight end unless it's like Sam Laporta or something like that. Because aside from that, you can get back into that tight end pool and get yourself a safe tight end that is going to give you the same value that Trey McBride is. So if you're thinking of keeping any tight end, this is the value you're getting with this channel in Dynasty. I wouldn't keep any tight end unless his name is Sam Laporta, which you guys got in the 10th round last year. If you're getting my, maybe even 9th round or 8th round, if you got my 16 rounds, draft solution, you guys were aware while everyone else was sleeping. Tight end, I always like to wait on, look for that upside tight end. I did last year. I mean, Laporta was ranked 21st amongst tight ends. I knew where to get him. I saw the value, and I'll explain that in the 16-round draft solution on which tight ends to get. All right, so make sure you guys secure this 16-round draft solution because I will be talking some Dynasty in there as well. It's mainly focused on year long. We're going to be talking Dynasty as well, all right? So Trey McBride or any tight end, unless his name is Sam Laporta, I would not be considering keeping, okay? Put him back into the pool, get somebody else, all right? So Rachaad White, Devin Achain, Nico Collins, CeeDee Lamb, Trey McBride, Dynasty duds that I will not be keeping for the reasons I stated here. Let me know what you guys think in the comments. I appreciate your feedback. Subscribe, thumbs up, and secure your ticket to the Fantasy Sports Summit and grab 16 rounds. I've linked it below. You can get them as a combo, all right? I appreciate you guys. We'll talk soon. I'm out.